Mention Sharia law and it brings up a lot of strong opinions. The Islamic protocol is practiced here, but many are fearful of it. Today, Senator Jackie Lambie called for people who support Sharia law to be banned from Australia. So, exactly what is it? And is there reason to be concerned?
We don't want it. Sharia law is barbaric. It's violent against women.
I'm not a stupid woman. No one's forcing me to be a Muslim.
Some of them have about 4 or 5 wives.
It's not in my household, so it really doesn't bother me.
This is Australia, and I would like to think that we maintain Australia law.
What do you think when you hear the words Sharia law?
Terrorism, I suppose.
For something that's been around for more than 1,400 years, most of us still don't know a lot about Islamic Sharia law.
I don't, but I don't really want to know either.
And those who do hold strong views.
They want to bring a 7th century religion to a 21st century. Go figure.
While others close to it claim it's not what you might think.
They don't have the information to form a rational opinion.
Tonight, Aussie Muslim families open up on Sharia law.
It's a way of living which has so much in common with the Australian way of life, but people aren't aware of that.
We reveal one woman's pain under it.
I am forever enslaved to this man until he divorces me in that Islamic country.
Pose prickly questions about polygamy.
But there's enough of me, I'm big enough to share.
And ask whether these old school rules can coexist with Australian law.
It sounds like something that belongs to another country at another time.
Australia, one law.
One law for all.
Yep.
What am I doing as a practitioner of Sharia, or somebody who's living Sharia, that any other Australian would not do?
A woman stoned to death for adultery. A man lashed 80 times across the back for drinking. This is life under Sharia law, the Islamic justice system from the Quran, practiced in countries such as Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's also happening here in Australia.
Christian Martinez was given 40 lashes for drinking.
The pain was unbearable, like it was crazy.
Only a very small fraction, less than 1% of Sharia deals with penal provisions. The rest of it...
Islamic community leader Kaiser Trad explains what the remaining 99% of Sharia law means to most Australian Muslims.
What we are talking about are those issues that do not involve any penal provisions. We talk about issues such as family law, issues such as inheritance, such as contracts. We talk about issues of personal conduct amongst individuals. The rest of it is about how to become a better person.
In Islam, Sharia law judgments are the word of God and the dominant force in the lives of most Australian Muslims. Yet it's essentially practiced underground here. That's allowed Sharia law to be hijacked by extremists.
We also want this country to become a Muslim country.
And punished by politicians.
Muslims want to see Sharia law introduced in Australia. Islam cannot have a significant presence in Australia.
Do you support Sharia law?
Including this fresh attack from Jackie Lambie today.
Why do you question me when I say ban anyone who supports Islam's Sharia law from living in Australia?
Perceptions and misinformation about Sharia law has fueled fear and anger in the wider Australian community. At the heart of the controversy, notions of a fierce, unjust, male-dominated legal code that discriminates against women.
If it wasn't something that I found satisfying and fulfilling, then I definitely wouldn't be a Muslim. No one's forcing me to be a Muslim.
Silma Ihram converted to Islam over 40 years ago. That means for the past 4 decades, she's been living and breathing Sharia law.
Under Sharia law, a man is supposed to be just to his wife. But some people take liberties with women particularly in a situation like Australia where sometimes women don't have as much education about their religion?
I did not actually believe in Sharia law. I became a victim of the Sharia law.
This woman we'll call Rochelle is a non-practicing Muslim. She claims her ex-husband is abusing Sharia law to punish her.
So I am forever enslaved to this man until he divorces me in that Islamic country.
In an Islamic marriage, it's much easier for the man to divorce. Rochelle's been granted a civil divorce by an Australian court, but her ex-husband refuses to accept it under Sharia law. For Muslims, a religious divorce is essential.
He uses the law to his advantage. It's a vicious thing they can use against their wives and their children when they're disgruntled.
What do you say to the people who claim women have no rights under Sharia?
I say these people should meet my daughters and they will see.
I think it's a bit different for teachers, regardless.
Meet two of Kaiser Trad's 5 daughters. Hella, a philosopher and teacher, and engineering student Isla. We joined them, Kaiser, his wife Hanifa, and other family members for a halal dinner.
What if your dad says something you don't agree with?
I tell him. I mean, he might not like it, but he's never, like, forced me to shut up.
Can I? Would I have a chance?
Probably not, but...
Clearly, the girls aren't shy when it comes to putting Dad in his place, especially when it comes to his passion for polygamy.
If your dad came home with another wife, would that be okay with you?
I'd have to
that would really just be in his dreams.
But taking a second wife is more than just a dream for Kaiser Trad. And tonight, for the first time, the Muslim spokesman opens up on polygamy.
I believe it's a drive. It's not something that can be helped. If the situation arises, I'm willing to make the sacrifice. I'm willing to...
I'll make the sacrifice?
Yeah, because I have to work harder. I have to work harder. I'm the one who has to struggle and strive and do all the extra effort.
Yeah, but why don't you just struggle and strive to make your current wife happier?
I am. I'm doing my best with my current wife. But there's enough of me. I'm big enough to share.
Kaiser's wife, Hanifa, has given her husband permission to introduce a second wife into the family circle.
Like, God allow it, why shouldn't we?
But Mrs. Trad does have one condition, that her husband treats both wives equally, in line with the Quran.
It is what he wants and what he's looking forward. If he thinks other women will make him happier or make him feel like more of a man, so I'm happy for him.
Polygamy is illegal in Australia, but Muslims are seeking another soulmate to add to their stable. More than 180 Muslim men have signed up to a controversial new matchmaking website, secondwife.com. But we won't be seeing hordes of polygamous marriages happening here anytime soon. Just a dozen or so women have registered to become a second wife, which makes for slim pickings.
Vanilla sponge with vanilla buttercream.
Natalie converted to Islam 15 years ago. The talented cake maker says she could do with an extra pair of hands, but she says she won't be turning to a second wife in her marriage to provide them.
The topic has come up and, you know, we've spoken about it and we've made plans for the way that we want our family to grow and the way we want to move forward in life. That's something that doesn't fit with what we want for our family.
Hysteria over Islam and polygamy has overshadowed what Sharia is all about, according to Kaiser Trad. He and Muslim convert Silma say there's so much more to the practice.
Being good to my family, that's part of Sharia.
You should eat only animals that not just have been slaughtered but correctly, but have been reared with ethics.
Being good to my neighbours, being good to my colleagues.
You don't eat too much. You should eat a third, drink a third, have space for a third.
Getting up early in the morning, washing, praying, having my breakfast.
The ethics is what Sharia is all about, and that's what affects all of my life.
That includes getting married and divorced under the principles of Sharia law in Australia. When it comes to marital disputes, Muslim couples are encouraged to seek settlements through an Islamic mediator rather than the family court. Australian law doesn't acknowledge Sharia rulings, but for the Muslim community, their judgments are the word of God.
In an Australian setting, of course, everything is subject to the overarching Family Act. But where parties can agree amongst each other through mediation, then that should be respected in the system.
But he was not.
Critics claim the self-regulated practice oppresses women, as we've seen in Rochelle's case, whose ex-husband refuses to accept their civil divorce. Under Sharia law in her ex-husband's homeland, the children are the property of the father and his father. Rochelle's been forced to place her kids on the family law watch list, which stops her former husband taking them to the Middle East without her consent.
I think Sharia law, I could only describe it as an oppressive law written by antiquated males and abused by quite westernized men when it suits them.
Rochelle makes a fair point.
For the first time in Australia, 4 men have been found guilty of assaulting a man in a punishment they carried out under Islamic law.
It was a cruel act that shocked the nation. Wasim Fayyad and 3 mates convicted over whipping Christian Martinez with an electrical cord as part of Sharia punishment for drinking and taking drugs. The alarming assault highlighting the conflict between ancient Sharia law and modern Australian law.
They took Sharia law in their own hands, and that is very unfortunate.
Flinders University law professor Hossein Asmaili says there's an increasing number of cases coming before the Australian courts where Muslims have applied Sharia principles. But the professor's confident Sharia law can coexist within Australian law.
Muslims, like any other groups, any other individuals, may choose a specific methods of entering into their personal agreements and sometimes family matters. As long as those arrangements are not against public policy and law, then they are fine.
If you need more evidence about the prevalence of Sharia law operating in Australia, then look no further than this place here. This is the Sydney Islamic College, and very shortly it'll be offering its students a 2-year structured course in Sharia Islamic studies.
Also homosexuality that's spreading all these diseases. You know, let's not deny the fact.
And this is the teacher in charge, Sheikh Shadi Al-Suleiman, a controversial preacher whose anti-gay comments overshadowed a dinner at the PM's house this year.
Sometimes you can make a comment to try and discourage people from going down that line without trying to condemn the people themselves, and it ends up by being taken in a particular way.
The Muslims we spoke to don't want a separate Islamic legal system alongside Australia's, but they suggest non-Muslims could take a leaf out of the Sharia law book, such as no-interest Islamic loans. Under Sharia law, Muslims are forbidden to earn interest on loans. So what do you think of our big 4 banks then?
Well, they're a necessity that we can't do without at the moment, but we're making every effort to bring to Australia an alternative that if some people choose to invest in a system that does not have interest, they will have that alternative in the future.
It's not as far-fetched as you may think. Earlier this year, our government quietly changed tax laws to accommodate Sharia law, making it easier for cashed-up Middle East investors to bid for major road, rail and port projects.
He's not fated to another woman.
If Sharia law has triggered debate around your dinner table tonight, you're not alone. Kaiser Trad faces stiff opposition from his daughters if he's to bring home that second wife he so desires.
Yes, that's why I'm interested in repeating the experience, because it's a perfect marriage. People who don't find their marriage perfect wouldn't do it again. But because I think it's a perfect marriage, that's why. You spoiled me.
There are obviously passionate views on both sides of that debate. Hopefully, we've given them an equal airing tonight.